That's what you're addressing here,
Oh,
correct?
absolutely. Okay, so the APL drops, we'll get into this a little more, if not today, then certainly with subsequent podcasts and videos. But we have to understand what the drops do in the body. And yes, they're the best supplement that I have found in the 40 years of evaluating supplements and recommending supplements to people. It's all about absorbability. It's all about 100% bioavailability. How well does the body utilize the nutrients that you're taking in the form of supplements? So we have to realize that the APL drops are 100% absorbable, and they're rapidly assimilated in the body. So this is the kind of thing that we need to distinguish, is the difference between a supplement that may or may not be absorbable and in fact be inflammatory in the body and cause more of a cascade reactive inflammatory response. But the APL drops are the safest, most 100% absorbable form of supplement because of the technology that the company has acquired from, 30 years of scientific study from scientists in Italy.
European and American scientists,
Yes,
that's correct.
yes,
Yep.
exactly. So this is a long time in the making to develop a supplement that is so rapidly absorbable, 100% absorbable, and therefore very, very effective. The book lists the 80 botanicals and all of the health attributes of those botanicals. I spent many, many months researching and delving into the scientific literature in universities and government databases all over the world. So there is a massive amount of scientific research on these botanicals and how they help the body function optimally.
Okay, so I want you to stay with us because you talk about bioavailability, absorbability. Well, aren't all supplements doing that?
No.
Okay.
Because supplements are synthetic sometimes, and even the whole food supplements, if you're having digestive issues and then your body tries to break it down like it would food, and a lot of these nutrients aren't absorbable because they're not in their whole food form. So that requires a lot of other nutrient factors that are found in whole foods, but when you break things down and you put them in a little tablet, they're not going to be as absorbable. Some supplements are better than others, but there's hardly ever a 100% absorbability factor.
Okay, and when you talk about absorbability, absorbable where?
Aha, good question. That was the next thing. Yes, okay, so your body, if you're taking in food, then your body has to break down those huge molecules through the digestive process. So by the time that these nutrients are broken down to the point where they fit through your cell membranes in your stomach lining and other areas of the body where you're able to absorb nutrients. Okay, that's the key, is how well is your body able to break down those nutrients and fit them through the very distinguishing cell membrane. There are a lot of identification factors that are sitting on the cell membrane. Now we're talking about something that's extremely tiny. You can barely see it. So we've got trillions of those living active cells in the body. Okay, so we need to be able to absorb those nutrients so that they get inside the cell, which is where all the manufacturing sites are in the body. Okay, so we've got the protein manufacturing sites, the fats that are utilized and transformed into body tissues. We've got the carbohydrates. All of these nutrient factors work together in synergy to generate new tissues, to repair DNA damage, cellular damage, increase the innate capacity for healing, such as the immune system.
Yeah.
So all of these factors have to be played, have to be taken into account when we're putting something in our bodies. And so the drops do a lot of that work for us. They're immediately assimilable right through the cell membrane. It's as if the cell membranes say, "Come right in, royalty is here." Because we eat so many. Well, most people do. I don't. I teach this stuff. Okay, so. And so yes, we have to make sure that we are absorbing these nutrients so that our bodies can do the work. And our genetic instructions in our genetic code, in the DNA, will know what to do. Unless that cell is damaged, then it won't know what to do. Those gene sequences are very, very important for providing the information needed to do all of the repair and regenerative work in the body.
Because I think, and for the benefit of our audience too, because I want to put myself in their shoes, when I read the first section of your book, which covers body systems and how the body functions, that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a lot of this I didn't know. And so it was important for me to now begin to assimilate this information as I began to choose, what I bought in a supermarket or what I got as an additional supplement and so forth, and knowing, as you've expressed, this absorbability factor is critical. But could you also elaborate more on what you mean by bioavailability?
Yes. Again, it's what happens at the cell membrane site. If your cells don't recognize the molecules that are arriving there after digestion, or in the case of the drops, they're already broken down to the point where they enter the cell membrane immediately. That means bioavailability. So if your cells are rejecting a lot of the things that are arriving in your bloodstream too, that are being distributed throughout the entire body, we've got miles and miles of blood vessels and smaller blood vessels and then tiny capillaries. So there has to be an absorbability factor through the cell membrane to the different body structures and the tissues in the body, and that means the heart and all of the other organs. That means are your muscle cells receiving the nutrients through their cell membranes? Are your nerve cells receiving information so that they function optimally? So a lot of things can go wrong in the body if the nutrient factors aren't there every day. So that's what bioavailability means. How well are your cells accepting those molecules through the cell membrane so that once they reach inside, all the repair work and regenerative work and health protective work is being done.
See, and I think that's one of the most important things that I learned in reading this, because I certainly didn't get it in my high school education, and I didn't major in college. But I've got to stay on track. I got some additional questions for you. But I know this is a relatively new term, I think, in society today. It is nutraceutical. So, again, this is, and folks, just so that you know, everything that we're talking about today, you can be found in this book for your own edification, and you can delve in, take your own notes. What we're simply doing is allowing you an opportunity to hear Esther kind of elaborate and edify some of the things she's talking about from the book. But what exactly is a nutraceutical? How would you define that? As opposed to, say, a supplement,
right?
Or something like that, or a vitamin, for example. Yeah.
As far as the nutritional supplements industry goes, a nutraceutical only came about in the last 10, 15 years. Yeah. And it's a whole new classification of supplements. Normally, supplements are consisting of vitamins and minerals. Nowadays, companies they're doing their scientific homework, and they're realizing, hey, let's put some whole food factors in our supplements, okay? So once you have, and a lot of companies are using superfoods, what are considered superfoods. So they go beyond the normal vitamin mineral type of actions. Okay, vitamins and minerals, of course, are essential. The body cannot manufacture them, so we need them. But a lot of the botanicals in our formulations contain phytonutrients, and there are literally thousands and thousands, and I'm not exaggerating. I came up with at least 25,000 phytonutrients. These are plant chemicals that are present. They're the fluids in plants that are so beneficial to the human body. They do a number of things which I outline in the book, and in the monographs that I develop for every single formulation, for every single botanical ingredient, I also list not only the vitamins and minerals, but the phytonutrients and how they act in the body to protect the body, protect your health. They actually do a lot of repair work at the cell level. And so they'll take in and they'll splice in their own DNA segments, and the body will be able, the DNA will be able to recognize those segments and replace it into our own DNA. It's like a splicing action that actually takes place. So that's what a nutraceutical is. It does more than just fuel the body. It actually does repair work at the DNA level.
And I've got so many questions. I can jump around, and we can, but at least, again, folks, you can find this information in the book. But you also talk a lot about disease and deficiencies and things. And I think, you might even want to talk about how the pharmaceutical companies kind of target areas that, butt up against, well, what's really causing this deficiency here and there. Can you speak a little bit about that? Because you talk a lot about it in the book.
Oh, boy, here we go. Okay, so a lot of people see a pill and they say, okay, what is it going to do for me, right? Okay, so again, nutrients repair and regenerate our living cells, and they help the replication process so that every cell that's replicated is replicated correctly, so nothing goes wrong or very little goes wrong as time goes on, because that's the natural aging process. But we can prolong the aging process, we can prevent the disease process by making sure that we have the right nutrients, okay? So tell me the question again, because I just got so sidetracked, I just get so excited.
Well, the original question was, what is the correlation between proper and thorough cellular nourishment and the prevention? Okay.
We're talking about the difference between drugs and
nutrients.
I
mean, it's not a sedative, it's not a drug. I mean, people can get confusing. It gets all muddled
up.
I
remember.
And so
okay,
forth.
I'm back on track. All right. Gotcha. So my mind goes a mile a minute. I can go off all kinds of tangents.
And that's why I have these written down.
That's why I have you. Yes. All right. That's why I stick to slideshows too. Because I've got this 40 years of information in here. Okay. So the difference between a nutrient and a drug. See, I'm not a medical doctor, and I don't prescribe. I don't treat. I don't diagnose. I don't have that kind of education. But I have had plenty of clients over the 40 years that I have been a consultant. And when they tell me what drugs they are taking, we look it up together and we see the side effects of the drugs. I don't know exactly how drugs work, but I have a certain idea, because what they do is they shut off certain mechanisms, usually at the cell membrane where the information is received and perceived. So if we turn off a biochemical reaction or biological action, then it covers up the symptoms. Okay, drugs rarely heal and allow the cells to function well again, to function properly again. Okay, so nutrients do that. They go inside the cell. The DNA says, I recognize that molecule, so I will use that to repair.
So in other words, it's almost like the APL drops reverse that, if you will.
I don't know. Over the years, when I've had clients get well from all variety of health ailments, all I did was teach them how to nourish their bodies. And their cells recognized the molecular information and did the repair work, and so they got well. And so that's what nutrients do. Whereas drugs, they seem to turn off mechanisms so that you turn off symptoms. But the body also is trying to understand what's going on. So it has a lot of other augmenting and balancing effects. Okay, so it'll go through and it'll try to compensate for what's missing, for what it doesn't understand. So it goes around a different route, so to speak, and that's what causes a lot of side effects.
Maybe the right word wasn't reverse, but what APL drops will do is more naturally and proactively address the situations in the body that perhaps wouldn't necessarily be advisable by a drug necessarily. I don't give any advice as far as whether to take a drug or not.
Sure. What happens when I do a consultation with people, they normally get well and they go back to their doctors, and their doctors say, well, keep doing what you're doing great. And they usually wean them off the medication. So if someone goes off their medications, there could be severe side effects. So I always do that under medical care. Yeah. But I found that my clients got well because their bodies were so nourished that their DNA information was corrected, and so cells began to function correctly once more. That means healing. That is the healing process, when your cells start functioning correctly.
Yeah, and I again, you're absolutely right. We're not trying to recommend or prescribe or anything else, but help people, and you do explain it in the book as well. And by the way, Esther's also written her first book, True Health Mastery, Transform Your Health, Change the World, and you address this particular topic even in more thorough detail.
I addressed that issue quite a bit in the first book I've written. Actually, I've written 6 books. This is actually the 6th one. And so being into sports nutrition and helping athletes prevent injuries and prolonging their athletic life, as you know, has been a focus, but also nutritional healing and restoring the body back to optimal functioning.
But what's nice is, as I read this, you at least you do explain the benefits of whole foods, vitamins, supplements, drops, and you talk about everything related to what people are putting in their systems, including drugs, and and it's very well expressed, and people can access that information. And it was good for me to know, because a lot of it I simply didn't. So I appreciate that.
People aren't schooled on it, and that's my mission, is to make sure people are schooled on it so that they can manage their health more effectively and prevent these terrible diseases that our society suffers from. 1 in every 3 people have diabetes or cancer or heart disease. They've got neurodegenerative disorders and digestive disorders, all sorts of problems, because they're not providing their body with the correct molecules from the right foods and the right supplements.
Okay. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that we